Pike. Welcome to our introduction to acrylic painting. You'll find acrylics are easy to use, so don't worry if you have never painted before. It's a water-based paint and there's no official technique because you can more or less do what you like with it. It's versatile. You can paint on paper, on canvas board, glass, rocks, or about most anything. You can apply it with brushes or knives. And you can combine it with other media. You can stick paper in it for collage effects, and the list can go on. Acrylics dry fast and can cause you to waste paint and ruin brushes. With or little know-how, you can prevent some of this waste. Now, selecting paints. There's different brands of acrylic paints out there. They vary in texture from thick to thin, buttery, smooth, and fluid. And you can find the one that suits you best. They come in tubes or in containers like this. And some may not be compatible. Some brands aren't very compatible to one another, so you just need to test it and see what works best for you. Surfaces to paint on, as I mentioned before, you can paint almost anything. Untreated fabric is absorbent, and so canvases are usually primed, like this one is, that you buy from the store, so you can paint directly on it. It's always good to have an extra layer, so you usually use gesso or just another layer of paint to prime it. Brushes are designed, you want to pick ones that are designed for working with acrylic paints. There's different ones out there, you can, but the ones that you want, the ones I like to use are the golden Taklon, you can see up close. They're kind of a gold color, but you want the package that says that you can use with acrylics, so you can buy them in different sizes. You can get flat brushes. Like this is a flat brush. You can see it. And this is a round. Bristle brushes are used also for acrylics or oil paints. They work well. This is a bristle brush. It's kind of, you see, it's kind of white and stiff. But usually they're better for the thicker paints. The paints in these are usually thinner. Now, the care of your brushes. You want to keep your brushes moist while you're painting and using them. And you want to wash them out well, because if they the dried paint on the brushes ruins them. So here's one where it's rather stiff and dried on, so it's kind of hard to work. But you can fix them with using like a brush cleaner that you could buy, or use denatured alcohol to soak them in. And the painting knives and palette knives are good for, these flat ones are good for mixing the paint, and they're good for helping to See, this angle on it is good for spraying on without getting your hand on the painting. That's why it's got a curve. You can use different palettes to put your paints on. You can buy different ones. Here's some examples that you can get, or you can just use plain old paper plates. Work for great palettes. My favorite paper plates are ones that kind of have a wax coating, so it's smooth and the paint doesn't absorb as much in to the paper plate. You can also use wax paper, because wax paper works great because it's less absorbent and you can mix your colors on it. Choosing the colors, you could get, because you're a beginner, you might want to just go and get a basic beginners pack where you just have the basic colors of red, white, blue, and maybe another color, and white, black. Very basic, because you know, with primary colors, technically, yours should be able to mix most any secondary color with it, but that is not always the case to get the color you want. And so it's good to have some other, like 2 different colors of red, like in this student pack. Let me come closer, I'll show you. In this little student pack, it's got 2 reds, 2 greens, 2 yellows, 2 different blues. And so that gives you some more choices and better mixing. So when you're buying them separately, you might want to get, you know, when you're choosing your 2 different types of colors, you might want like a cadmium red and a crimson, or like a cadmium yellow, and you get lemon yellow, or you get yellow light, ultramarine blue, or phthalo blue. And you might want to really consider buying colors that are really hard to mix, like purple. Purple's a really hard one to mix, because when you try to mix colors and try to get purple, you find it's not so easy to get. Okay, you'll find that some colors are transparent when you put them on the canvas, which means transparent is that you can see through it. And so the white is opaque color, and so that cuts down on the transparency and also lightens the color, because the acrylic colors tend to dry darker and are more dull as they dry, and so the white brings out the tint and makes it lighter. And where, of course, black darkens the colors and the tones. Okay, let's get started on some underpainting. Maybe you want to pause it so I get some colors. Here we are going to begin getting the paint on the canvas. I put on the palette, because I'm going to have the background yellow, so I put on some white, yellow, and a little bit of black, which I'm going to use to kind of draw in or block in my picture. So I'm going to take a wide brush, because the wider probably the better, so we can just get the paint on as quickly as we can. I have here water in a container. Oh, and one thing I want to talk about is you want to keep your brushes moist, and so when I'm not using it, probably in a container or wet, and have them stored this way, because you don't really want them down this way, because it ruins the brush and it bends them. Like, see how this one's bent? So we don't want to do that to our brushes. Okay, so I'm going to get some white and some yellow, mix it together, and I have water on my brush, and just start it on. I dip a little water to keep it moist, and mix some paint, and just spread it on. Get the color of background that I'd like to see. It could be darker or lighter, whatever color suits you. You don't have to use yellow if you don't like a yellow background. You can do some other color if you like. And, you know, paints are pretty forgiving, and so these acrylics, they dry pretty quick, and if you don't like something, you can take your paper towel. So I have paper towels here, and if you don't like it, you can wet your towel and just wipe it off. Of course, it won't get everything off, but it'll get some of the paint off. When it's dry, you can always paint over acrylics with some other color even. But if it's kind of a dark color, you might want to paint over with the white opaque, because opaque covers things. It's not transparent, and so it will cover, it'll wash out, covers that yellow over. So, yeah, so don't worry if you goofed up with something, because it's fixable. So, here I go. Just getting color on. I'll turn this over so we can get the bottom here. It got a little dry, so I put some water so it will spread a little bit quicker, easier, thinner. Thins the paint. Okay, so that's my nice yellow background color. If you want blue, like if you're doing a blue sky, you can do it with the blue and add the white and get as light of a sky as you want. And you can even put clouds in your sky with the white paint. But today we're not doing clouds. We're just doing a nice, bright, sunny, sunshine day. And we're going to put a flower in a nice sunny day. So now I'm rinsing the brush out. So I'm going to get as much paint out of the brush as I can. dabbing it here. And then I'm going to put the brush in there to hold it now. And watch it so it doesn't, alright, there's still a little paint in there. I might want to rinse it a little bit more. Okay, we'll give that just a little bit to dry out for a second. Now I'm selecting a round brush because I'm thinking I want to use a round brush to, maybe I might want to draw and block in my picture a little bit. I don't want it too black, so I'm going to put a little bit of white to make it kind of gray. Okay, I think I want my flower, you can put anywhere you want on your canvas board, but I think I'm going to put my kind of right here on the center. I'm going to do a large daisy type flower. So this is the circle here, and I'm thinking I'm going to do some large petals. So I'm going to just draw in some petals. You can have as many petals you want. We're not counting. Okay. There. Okay. Now, I'm going to see, okay, what color do I want my flower? I like blue because it's a nice color against yellow. It's kind of contrasting. So I'm going to put some blue on my palette. Right up here. Find one. There we go. Yeah, we've got to make sure that the lids are on tight when you close up your paints, because then the air might get to them and then they kind of dry up a little bit. But if there's still some moisture in your tube, you can add moisture in there and it'll kind of fix itself a little bit, as long as it's still got some moisture in there. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of white with my blue so it's not as transparent, because blue tends to be transparent. So you can see a little bit of the yellow showing through. That shows its transparency. If you want less of that, you just add more white to it if you don't want it to be so transparent. But sometimes it's nice to see a little bit of that color. It adds a little variety in the color. It just depends on what you want in your painting. You can edit and cut out some of this. You know. Come back to it. Okay. Notice how I keep dipping my brush in the water, trying to keep it so it will go on easier, not be too thick for me. Yeah, it just depends on how you like it to paint, how thick you want, how smooth and easy you want it to go on. There's a little bit more white on that one. Just don't worry, it dries quickly. Don't worry about it drying quickly. If you don't like something, you just go over it again. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush. And I'm going to get red. Uh-oh, I'm getting a little messy. Okay. Put some red on the palette. Okay. And I'm going to put just a little bit and a little bit of the blue. See how it doesn't really mix purple good. That's why you might want to buy purple if you want purple, but I'm not after purple today. I just want a kind of a dark edge for around the center of my flower. And it looks kind of purpley, but I'm not after that so much. I just want it to be darkened. I think I want to have a little bit of that just out on some of my petals, just for fun here. A little bit of contrasting on my petals. Maybe down the center of the petal. And go around again. So give it a little bit of shading. Purple is good for shading. Rinse my brush out. Let that dry just for a little bit. It's good, it's fast drying. I think for fun, I'm gonna make a ladybug. So it's kind of like a half circle. My petal. And I'm going to rinse the brush, and then I'm going to get a little bit of the black on the very tip. I'll be give my ladybug a small circle head, and the body's kind of underneath. And this ladybug's gonna have some little legs. And I'm going to give my ladybug a couple antennae. Like so. And some spots. Okay. Now I'm going to take some of my yellow and red and some more yellow and mix it, kind of make an orange. Looks like I need more white because I want it to be opaque to paint over this. So I'm going to add some white to my palette. And add some white to the orange. And put a little bit more red there, a little bit more yellow. So I get plenty of color. Mix it till I get the orange that I'm looking for. Okay. Now I'm going to put orange in the center. Dry a little bit. Okay, I'm going to get one of my stiff brushes and I'm going to try a technique that you can try. Or you can get one that's kind of like this, and it's kind of flat. It's round, kind of flat and stiff, something like that. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use. I think I'll just try. I'll try one and then the other one and see which I like best. So I can get it wet. I'm gonna put it in my yellow, white, and just kind of tap it. I'm going to see if that's kind of the effect I want. Sort of. Okay. I think this is what you call scumbling. Because whatever it is called, you're tapping it and yeah, it's scumbling. Gives it a different look. Kind of fuzzy, like some flowers are kind of fuzzy in the middle. So you can give it a fuzzy look. Okay, rinse that out. You get the paint out of it. I'm going to find a small brush. I think I want to give my bug a little spot in the eye. So I put a little bit of white on the end of the little brush. And give my bug little eye spots. Okay, and if you're satisfied with your picture now, you can call it good and call it done.